Good evening, and welcome to the City Council meeting on May 20th, 2024, 6 p.m., City Council Chambers, 111 East Maple. So the invocation will be given by Sergio Quintero, and he will be giving the invocation in Spanish. And then please stand for the invocation, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bendito Dios y Padre eterno, Señor, venimos en este día delante de tu presencia, Señor, dándote gracias, Señor amado, por ese privilegio que nos otorga, Señor, de estar en este lugar, Señor, para tomar decisiones sabias, Padre amado. Mira, Señor, yo pongo delante de tu presencia a cada councilman, councilwoman que está aquí reunido, Señor, para que tomen esa decisión necesaria para esta ciudad, Padre. Te pido en el nombre de Jesús, Señor, por el mayor Roland, Señor, que tú le des esa sabiduría, ese entendimiento, Señor, para que puedan tomar esas decisiones, Padre. Sabemos que el crimen día a día se multiplica, Señor, pero usted es sabio, Señor amado, para dar, Señor amado, esas necesidades, Señor, que se tienen que otorgar, Señor, de poder tomar el control, Señor amado, de esta ciudad, Señor. Esa necesidad de tomar una sabia, Señor amado, sabiduría, con la sabiduría de Dios, Señor, decisión, Padre. Oramos, Señor, en el nombre de Jesús y te damos gracias, Padre, por ese privilegio, Señor, de poder estar en este lugar para tomar decisiones sabias, Señor, delante de tu presencia. En el nombre de Jesús, Señor. Amén y amén.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears?
Here.
Councilmember Perkins?
Here.
Councilmember Stewart? Can't hear you.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember McCandless?
Here.
Councilmember Wiley?
Here.
Councilmember Bott?
Here.
Mayor Rowland?
Here. Thank you very much. Next is citizens' request, and Bob Sorensen, excuse me, can I have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
We've got a
Second.
motion and a second to suspend the rules to allow non-citizens or non-residents to speak. So, any discussion? We'll do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Sorensen, the floor is yours.
Okay. Is it working? Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
My name's Robert Sorensen. I live at 800 Southwest Powell Drive in Oak Grove, Missouri. I am the president of the Loggers Retiree Group for the retirees of the City of Independence. I just want to take a moment tonight to talk about the proposed budget hearing. I attend every council meeting and study session, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank the city manager, Zach Walker, and his staff in regards to next year's budget. The budget proposed at last week's study session shows no changes to retirees' health insurance care. I would also like to express my appreciation to the city manager, the mayor, the council, for honoring the promise the city made to the retirees. I would like to present a few numbers to the mayor and council. I believe these numbers prove that when two groups work hard together, that both groups can benefit from that. In regards to the retirees, there currently is 995 retirees receiving health insurance in their post-65, and there are currently 282 members in the Stay Well Pre-65 retiree group, which makes a total of 1,277 people that I represent. In the post-64 retiree group, it fluctuates, and it fluctuates by people turning 65 and people passing away. In 2023, we had 1,020 members in the post-65. This year, we have 995. In this year's health insurance, the increase in post-65 health insurance was a 71-cent a month increase, which by the amount of people, that would have been $8,477.40 total increase to the city. But when you take away the 25 members that is smaller than the year before, the post-65 health insurance took a savings of $74,918 for the city. In the pre-65 retiree in the Stay Well program, we formed a committee a little over a year ago that was made by Mr. Hobart that contained Zach Walker, the city manager, Jared Fears on the council, Mike Veet, Cindy Colt from Stay Well, and myself. At that time, we did some pretty drastic changes to the Stay Well program, and it has proven to be successful. Currently, in the fiscal year for the city, after 9 months, the Stay Well program is showing to be operating at a $1,196,000 to the good. That is unbelievable compared to what we went through in the last few years. Again, it shows when all the different groups can come together and try to come up with ideas to make things better. I think it's a proven fact that the health insurance for the retirees has drastically improved, and to say 71 cents a month increase for post-65 in today's economy is unbelievable. So I believe the post-65 health insurance is in very good hands and working well, and I appreciate working with the city and making these plans better. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Matt Roberts. And Matt, I'm not sure if, I know you've spoken before, but I'm not sure if you've spoken on this ordinance before. 24.
Yes, I did. 24033, yes.
So with that being said, you'll have 3 minutes this time.
All right.
Thank you.
My name's Matt Roberts. I live in Blue Springs, Missouri. I do have a business here in Independence. That's why I'm interested. Mr. Mayor, council members, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I spoke 2 weeks ago when this ordinance had its first reading and brought up some concerns with some of the language in the ordinance. And Mr. Mayor asked the city attorney to make some revisions to that ordinance, to address those concerns. And I looked at the city agenda or the council meeting agenda on the city's website today, and nothing is different. And maybe I understand that the city would have some meetings, the council would have meetings with staff. There might be things that I don't know about. Maybe they determined that there was no changes needed. But I just thought it was interesting that there was a request to do that. And the ordinance, I read the one for tonight. I put it through some automated tools to compare it to the one from last time. Nothing's different. So I just wanted to bring that up. I found out by speaking with one of the council members after the meeting 2 weeks ago that the change that was in there it didn't relate to what I was concerned with, which was rental ready, because I own rental property here in the city. But it did seem to be a little bit of a change that could potentially affect many classes of business licenses in the city. That was my original objection. So that was my observation, is that there was a request for changes, but there don't seem to be any changes, and that was a concern that I had and I wanted to bring forth. That's all I had.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. And next up is Mike Fowler, and you'll have 5 minutes, Mike.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'd like to introduce myself to you. I am Mike Fowler. I have been employed with the Police Department for 20 years. Currently, I am the Investigations Trustee of FOP Lodge 1. I also am the Training Sergeant and Recruiting Sergeant. I have the honor to serve as a sergeant over the part-time SWAT team. I have held several positions throughout my career and have felt valued by our citizens, city staff, and councils that I have served under. Personally and professionally, I would like to thank you all for your dedication to the city and the citizens of Independence for all that you do, daily seen and unseen, which impacts their lives. I would like to speak to you about several months back, starting in January, with some of the applications and recruiting efforts. In January, there were no applicants, so there was not a scheduled testing. February, there were 5 that were invited. 3 people did not show up. 2 conditional offers were given, and 1 was hired. In March, 8 were invited. 3 did not show up. 4 conditional offers were given, and 2 are currently in a background investigation. In April, 11 were invited, 3 did not show up, 6 conditional offers were given, 4 are currently in background investigations. In May, 14 were invited, 12 did not show up. 2 conditional offers were given, 2 are currently in background investigations. Naturally, you heard the pattern of applicants being invited and those that did not show up. However, I want to highlight May. In May, KCPD, there are rumors of their pay increase. That's when their pay increase went active. So again, in May, we had 14 people invited, 12 did not show up. So at the same time, you all were working with our FOP regarding negotiations for our upcoming contract. The FOP and IPD will be entering into a contract July 1st. At a recent meeting, the contract was discussed in depth by President Logan Waterworth, and the large group of FOP members present were extremely pleased with how negotiations went, and the addition of the health insurance benefit that many before July of 19 had, and then it was done away with. This is something that members of the FOP spoke on with how they felt valued by the city staff and the city council. As for hiring and retention of our current staff, I can't thank the city enough for bringing the health insurance benefit back in retirement so that we can continue to keep those that are currently staffed and then bring people in from that are thinking about joining other police departments. That's a huge benefit. This pay increase and this benefit will be more lucrative, and it will keep our city up there when we're recruiting and going to events across the metro. Also at this membership meeting, the proposed public safety tax ordinance was explained in depth by President Logan Waterworth. During this meeting, the membership showed unanimous support for the tax if voted on tonight to move to the August ballot. In the years to come, this tax will help to pay for the new proposed pay scale, which is necessary to remain competitive with KCPD and other metropolitan cities across our metro area. This tax will also assist the city in providing needed equipment for the department and its members. This increase in pay will bring more applicants who will be more qualified and have more quality. More officers hired under this tax will mean equal distribution of call load and more officers patrolling our neighborhoods, which is something that we know is something that is valuable for our citizens. Again, as a trustee of FOP Lodge 1 and with my direct work over recruiting, I can't thank you enough for your support. Thank you. If you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a proclamation celebrating or recognizing Emergency Medical Services Week. And so I'll read part of the proclamation in recognizing that event. Whereas the members of the EMS organizations are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas Emergency Medical Services embody the true concept of teamwork by recognizing the interdependent relationship among the trauma centers, EMS systems, hospitals, emergency rooms, emergency physicians, emergency nurses, and emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and all those that help save lives. And whereas the members of the EMS organizations, whether career or voluntary, engage in thousands of hours of continuing specialized education in order to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas the City of Independence Fire Department has been providing emergency medical services at the EMT level since 1993, augmenting their level of service with paramedics beginning in 2000, and with 63 paramedics and 114 EMTs currently on staff. And AMR, American Medical Response, has been providing emergency medical services, including transport, at the paramedic level since 1994. And then whereas, in 2024, the EMS Strong National Theme, celebrating 50 years of EMS, reflects the half-century of service delivered by the EMS professionals that have provided and recognizes the unending commitment that EMS professionals have and continue to respond to the needs of our community while fighting to preserve their own physical and mental well-being. And so we now recognize this week as Emergency Medical Services Week, and Craig DePlantis and Paul Liniger will come up and receive the proclamation. This brings us to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
Okay. Can we get a second?
I second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Are there any members that would like to pull something out for separate consideration?
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
I'd like to pull Resolution 24718 and Resolution 24727.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, I'll do resolution 24718. Oh, you already did that. Correct?
Yep.
Gotcha.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
could you do resolution 24728?
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, let's go ahead and approve the consent agenda without those three items being approved at this point, but we'll approve the rest of the consent agenda. So without any further discussion, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes, and the consent agenda is approved without the three items that were in fact pulled for separate consideration. Councilmember McCandless, the floor is yours for 24718.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I've spoken before on this item. We know that opioids have affected every community in America. There are multiple national lawsuits against companies who have profited from the promotion and sale of pain medications. And in many cases, the overprescribing and overuse led to addiction and devastating consequences for individuals, families, and communities. So communities all across the country are making plans for how best to use these opioid settlement dollars. Funds are intended to help communities directly address the consequence of drug use and addiction, which is why it's especially important that we involve input from the community. So I've tried to address other council members' concerns that the committee should not make recommendations on the actual disposal of dollars, and instead have made an amended proposal which will instruct the committee, along with city managers, designated representatives, to recommend the goals and objectives for the use of those funds. And then those objectives will be available to the city manager for his deliberation. So for clarity, I'll read you the proposed substituted language. That the committee shall develop a set of goals and objectives for the city manager to consider when and if additional dollars are received from opioid settlements. Section 3, that the Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee shall consist of 5 to 9 members who shall be residents of or work in the City of Independence. It shall also have city employee designees that the city manager shall assign. The city manager is hereby directed to solicit applications from candidates with the qualities of leadership, temperance, judgment, and interest in programs and services designed to combat the opioid epidemic. 2 city council members shall be assigned to this committee and shall interview applicants and recommend appointments to the rest of the city council. Appointments to the committee will be made by a majority vote of the city council. The committee shall give priority to members who have lived experience, mental health or substance use disorder treatment or prevention experience, family or child service experience, and shall collectively bring the perspective of a broad range of ages and experience. Section 4, the Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee shall serve without compensation for a term expiring no later than March 1st, unless further action of the council extends the committee's duties. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very
I
much. And can you make a
recommend
motion for the
Make a
amendment,
motion
please?
for adoption of the amendment.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second for the adoption of the amendment.
Mr.
And it-
Mayor.
Please proceed.
Just to be clear, Councilmember McCandless mentioned March 1st, but she didn't mention the year, so that's
I'm sorry?
2025.
2025, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Any other further discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. And the amendment, as proposed, passes 7 in favor, 0 against. This brings us back to the main bill. Any further discussion on 24718?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
thank you. I'll not be supporting this. In Councilwoman, we've had many conversations before, and we're just in disagreement. There's nothing horrible about that. I just do not feel that forming another committee when we have the Advisory Board of Public Health, which has given us input and advice before on these matters and others, that forming another committee to work for approximately 10 months, I think that's something that we don't need to do, so I will be not supporting this.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, call the roll on 24718, please.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
No?
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. And 24718 passes 6 in favor, 1 opposed. That brings us to 24727. Councilmember McCandless, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, to inquire of the city manager?
Please proceed.
Mr. City Manager, this is an exciting opportunity for independence and for everybody who is listening and in the chambers. Could you please outline what this will do for the city?
I will do my best, and if we need additional questions, I'll ask the Power and Light Director to back me up. But in a nutshell, this, as the Councilwoman said, is an exciting opportunity as battery technology becomes more viable for storage of power. This is the evolution of that in our community. So a private firm is looking to deploy that technology here in Independence. To transmit it, though, will require that they hook up to the city's transmission system. So this is the city agreeing to those terms and conditions with the organization that oversees our region, which is the Southwest Power Pool, and the city will be reimbursed as a result of that work. So we get the upgraded system, the cost paid for by a private vendor, and this technology being deployed into our community.
And Mr. City Manager, does this also help us fulfill our Southwest Power Pool obligation for energy?
This is where I will ask the Power and Light Director to come and visit with us.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Joe Hagenduffer. I'm the Independence Power and Light Director. So to answer your question, the short answer is no. This does not meet Independence Power and Light or the City of Independence obligation for SPP for capacity. Now, can we enter into an agreement with that battery owner at a later date once they are installed? That is a possibility, but we would have to have those discussions, and that deal would be made at a later date. But it does not immediately help our capacity, no.
Okay. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Thank you.
I recommend adoption of 24-727.
All right, we've got a motion for 24-727. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on 24-727? If I may, Mr. City Manager, just as a point of clarification, we were actually approached by this company to do this. This was not something that we sought them out or did any request for proposals or anything like that.
That's correct. This is
Okay.
a private company looking to deploy their technology and was not a public investment on the city's part.
Okay, and basically they're doing the model, if I'm correct, buy low, sell high. They basically load the batteries up at night when they can buy it cheaper from the pool, and then sell it during the day during the higher peak times, and that's how they make their margins.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Very good. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. Any further discussion on 24-727? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes, and 24-727 passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. That brings us to 24-728. Councilmember Stewart, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will make a motion to approve Resolution 24-728.
Thank you. And we've got a motion and a second. Councilmember, please proceed.
Mr. City Manager, just a couple of things. It's actually two parts. Can you give a brief overview of the agreement, including the health department portion that the public speaker spoke of earlier? And then can you also talk about how you're going to address, because you're obviously going to give raises to the sworn personnel in the police department that are not represented by the FOP. Can you talk about how you will approach that?
Yes, I'd be glad to. To the first part of your question, Councilmember Stewart, this agreement is a 4-year agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, but most importantly, this addresses the wage disparity that was introduced into the region a few months ago when Kansas City Police Department adopted a new wage table for the men and women of the Kansas City Police Department. This doesn't fully match that agency dollar for dollar, but what it does allow us to do is responsibly and aggressively compete with that by bringing down the total number of years until an officer is able to reach the top end of the wage table. It consolidates the number of years in which an officer receives a pay increase from 4 years to every other year, so every 2 years. And again, makes our salary far more competitive year to year with Kansas City than we would have been had we not taken this action. Councilmember, to your second point, another item that was negotiated and as the speaker mentioned, we believe will be a competitive tool for the City of Independence in our recruitment and retention efforts is to have the member of the police force at the time of their retirement between ages 55 and 65 to be still remaining on the city's insurance plan until they reach the Medicare eligibility, and then, pardon me, those other provisions would kick in. So we still have preserved the financial benefit that the city gained a few years ago by not including spouses or eligible dependents on that, but we are covering the member who served their career with the Independence Police Department, provided that they've met the criteria behind that. And then, the council member, I believe your last question related to command staff. This proposal does take into account, though there are members of that command staff that aren't represented by the FOP. We certainly don't want to discourage promotional opportunities because somebody would be making less money if they promoted. So this addresses some of those wage compression issues so that those promotional opportunities still remain attractive for those command staff level positions as well.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on 24-728? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll on 24-728.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. And 24-728 passes 7 in favor and 0 opposed. This brings us to the regular agenda, and we've got a public hearing. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
A public hearing for the amendment of the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 14 of the City Code relating to data center use. Full public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Tom Scannell. I'm the Community Development Director. This item was considered by the Planning Commission at their April 9th meeting, and the Planning Commission recommended approval of this item. This amendment would add the data center use as an allowed use in the I-1 Light Industrial District. It's currently allowed in the BP district, so this would expand that to the I-1 district. This use is appropriate in the I-1 district and could promote the retention and expansion of new industrial development opportunities. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Anyone any questions for Mr. Scannell? And so in layman's terms, we've used area 2-1 and things like that, but can you give me kind of the general geographic area of the places we're talking about?
So yeah, adding this to the light industrial zoning district, so any property that has the I-1 zoning, the data center use would be an allowed use within that zoning district. So think out in the Little Blue Valley where North Point is doing their development. This would allow data centers to locate out there.
And you knew where I was going, so you hit the spot. Thank you very much. Anyone else, other questions? Okay. This, I'll open it up for questions or comments. Anyone here want to speak in favor of or in opposition to 24032? Anyone want to speak in favor of or opposition to 24032? Anyone want to speak in favor of or opposition to 24032 or for information purposes only? Since no one came forward, we'll close the public hearing. Madam City Clerk, please read the bill.
24-032, second reading. An ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 14 of the City Code pertaining to data center use in I-1. This addresses item 2.1.c of the 2023-2024 Independence Action Plan. Second reading.
Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Excuse me. Mayor Rowland?
Yes. And 24032 passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Brings us to our second public hearing. We'll open that public hearing up. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
A public hearing for the application by Elevated Spaces to rezone the property at 9519 East Truman Road from C2 General Commercial and R12 Two-Family Residential to R6 Single-Family Residential. New information only.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. This property sits on the south side of Truman Road, west of Winter Road. The owner intends to rehab this dangerous building into a single-family residence. This rezoning is necessary given the length of time that this structure has remained vacant, as well as being a dangerous building. This item was considered by the Planning Commission on March 23rd, and the Planning Commission recommended approval of this zoning. I have no new information to report on this case.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, this is a full public hearing, so hear me do this again. Anyone want to speak in favor of or opposition to 24034? Anyone want to speak in favor of or opposition to 24034? One last time. Anyone want to speak in favor of, opposition to, or information purposes only on 24034? Okay. That'll close the public hearing. Madam City Clerk, please read the bill.
24-034, second reading, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District C2, General Commercial, and District R12, two-family residential, to District R6, single-family residential for the property at 9519 East Truman Road. Second reading.
Any further discussion?
Mr.
Please
Mayor,
proceed.
thank you. I'm going to make a motion to postpone this item for 60 days. The reason being, I am totally for getting rid of vacant and dangerous buildings, for sure. The reason for holding this up for 60 days, the city manager did give us some information Friday, May 3rd, regarding these two properties, and it would be, in my understanding, by postponing this would give the ability for these individuals, these applicants, to do some corrective measures in the form of compliance with some others that they have, to come back before the city council, get those taken care of, corrected, and then we can move forward with this. So the motion is to postpone for 60 days to allow the applicant to do some corrective measures.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second on 24034 to postpone it for 60 days. Acting city councilor, we're using the right term, using postpone, or do we table it? What's the appropriate term?
Postpone is good for 60
Postpone will
days.
work? Okay. So we'll make sure that we're appropriate and not putting ourselves up for any trouble. All right, anyone else discussions on 24034? Seeing no further discussion, we'll take roll call on postponing the matter for 60 days. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless,
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. And 24034 is voted 7 in favor, 0 opposed, to postpone for 60 days to work with staff to kind of get some last things ironed out. Very good. This brings us to our next public hearing. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
A public hearing for the application by Robert Scarborough to rezone the property at 120 East College Street from R30/PUD High Density Residential / Planned Unit Development to R6 Single Family Residential. New information only.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. The applicant is seeking to rezone this property, as was mentioned, from multifamily to R6 Single Family Residential. Despite being zoned multifamily for many years, it always has been a single-family residence since the home was built. The Planning Commission considered this item at its April 9th meeting and recommended approval of this rezoning, and staff has no new information to report.
Thank you. And I'll close the, well, excuse me, I can't close the public hearing. I'll open the public hearing so we can have those discussions. So anyone want to speak in favor of or opposition to 24035? Oh, this is new information only. Thank you very much. Anyone want to, new information only on this? Is it new information only? Okay, a second. Oh, there it is. You got it. Okay. Yep. Just clarifying it, double checking to make sure we're right. And the council member is in fact correct. So new information only. We'll proceed. We'll close the public hearing. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
24-035, second reading, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District R30/PUD High Density Residential to R6 Single Family Residential for the property at 120 East College Street, second reading.
Any further discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Same 60-day postponement is the motion I am making. For same reasons, I will make this caveat too. I didn't put it in the last discussion point. The reason for the 60 days, if we were to vote up or down, or vote this down, then they would not be able to bring this back to the city council for 1 year. So this allows them some time, 60 days, to get some compliance and other issues in order. So that was the reason behind the 60-day.
Very good. We've got a motion to postpone it. Do we have a second?
I second.
We've got a motion and a second to postpone item 24035 for 60 days. Any further discussion on the postponement? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless,
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes, and 24035 is postponed for 60 days, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. That brings us to a public hearing. We'll open this up. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
A public hearing for the application by Bobby Anderson to rezone the property at 908 North Liberty Street from C2 General Commercial to R6 Single Family Residential, new information only.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. The applicant seeks to rezone this property. This property is currently zoned C2, and they are seeking to rezone it to R6, single-family residential. This property has been zoned commercial for many years, but has been used as a single-family house. The Planning Commission considered this item at its April 9th meeting and recommended approval of this rezoning. There's no new information to report on this case.
Okay. Thank you very much. This will open a public hearing. And this is for new information only. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Madam City Clerk, please read the bill.
24-036, second reading, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District C2 General Commercial to District R6 Single Family Residential for the property at 908 North Liberty Street, second reading.
Any further discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless,
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes, and 24036 passes, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. This brings us to a full public hearing. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
A full public hearing for a restaurant selling intoxicating liquor license application for Katrina's Tacos and Tequilas located at 19801 East Valley View Parkway. Full public hearing.
Good evening. Katrina's Tacos and Tequilas will be operating their restaurant within the building's approximately 6,000 square feet of space. This location was the former Rib Crib restaurant, which closed in 2017. They are seeking a restaurant selling of intoxicating liquor by the drink license. There are other liquor establishments located nearby, mainly to the north of this establishment. All of those are restaurants who serve alcohol. There is a church with a school to the south of the subject property, thus requiring city council approval. I have nothing further to report on this case.
Very good. This is a full public hearing, so anyone want to speak in favor of or opposition to this item? Does anyone want to speak in favor of or opposition to this item? Anyone want to speak in favor of or opposition to this item and add information only if they like? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Madam City Clerk.
Council action is requested on the restaurant selling intoxicating liquor license application for Katrina's Tacos and Tequilas located at 19801 East Valley View Parkway.
Any further discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
question for Mr. Scannell, if I could.
Absolutely.
Just a question. You said there is a school and a church in close proximity?
Correct. That church and school is located to the south of this location.
We've not had any objection?
We have not, no.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless,
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught,
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. And the liquor license application for Katrina's Tacos and Tequilas is approved, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. That brings us to our fiscal year 2024-25 budget, and this is a full public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing. Anyone want to speak in favor of or opposition to the budget? Anyone want to speak in favor of or opposition to the budget? Anyone want to speak in favor of or opposition to the budget or information purposes only? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And any discussion from the council on this? Okay, not tonight. We'll have plenty of it. I know we'll have a discussion on the 28th and the 29th. That will bring in all the department heads, so we'll have plenty of opportunities to ask tons of questions there and talk about each individual budget. Okay. With that being said, acting city councilor, just a quick question. We don't take a vote tonight because obviously this is just the public hearing. We'll take a vote on that when we actually pass the item later next month. All right, very, very good. Anyone else? All right, perfect. That takes us on to the ordinances, and we've got 24031. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
24-031, second reading, an ordinance amending Chapter 9 Fire Code of the Independent City Code by adding Article 2 to add lift assist cost recovery and non-resident mitigation fees, second reading.
Thank you. Anyone want to have a discussion on 24031? Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. City Manager, I recognize that this is a way for the fire department to be able to address the multitude of calls that they get from nursing homes and other assisted living facilities, and they come and pick somebody off the floor and get them back into bed. It's becoming a bigger problem, and I assume that this is the way that the city is working to address that. But my question is, for somebody who falls in their home, this does not apply to them. Is that correct?
This is for the places that are to have lift assist capabilities, as you mentioned, assisted living facilities and other type of establishments of that nature, hospitals, et cetera, that are calling our department on a frequent basis because they either don't have somebody there to perform the duty as required, me too, baby, or the equipment. So yes, this is providing a service, but charging for that service because they are to already be providing for that. But private citizen in their home, they obviously are not required to have that kind of assistance, so would not apply in the same way.
And I'm really curious about the other portion, which is if someone has an accident within the city limits of Independence, that there would be a fee assessed for the emergency services provided to them. Is this normal? Does it get passed on to insurance?
Yes, so this was a best practice that was brought to us by our interim fire chief, Chief Loss, who served in several other communities in his distinguished career. At their core, fire departments are here to protect the citizens of that community that are paying taxes in the community, et cetera. And again, our community having several major thoroughfares and a pretty extensive network of federal and state highway systems, we see a lot of people passing through, and we want those visitors. But if our department is called out, this would assess a charge against that person and against their insurance that would be collected, not necessarily a bill to that individual's home.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Please proceed.
Mr. Walker, question regarding process on this. So how do we intend to, undertake the billing process and the collecting and all of that piece of the puzzle?
Initially, we are going to start with our existing staff. However, the council may recall a few years ago adopting an ordinance for false alarm fees and contracting for services for that for a firm to manage the billing of those. And I would, as I say here tonight, I would suspect it will not be long before we will find this to be a practice that will require us to advance towards contracting for that service as well, given the volume of work combined with the threadbare finance staff that we have right now.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else, other further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
Mr. City Manager, do you have any idea, like, can you give me an estimate on how many times a day this happens, or even a week or a month, just an estimate? Do we get called out for this?
It's hard to put a number on it, council member, but I would say in a week you're running in the dozens. Again, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, hospitals are not immune from the challenges of hiring like we have experienced here at the city with a number of positions. However, as it was explained to me, if Subway called and said they were short during the lunch rush and wanted us to come help, we wouldn't come provide that service for free. And similar here, this would be recouping our costs for a service that they are required to staff up for.
And then one other question, have you already notified the hospitals and the nursing homes this may be coming, or how will you go about getting the word out that this is, if this passes?
We will be sending notification to all of those licensed facilities in our community. And then in visiting with the chief, I believe we would also want to have some sort of follow-up in-person ground game to be able to visit with them and explain the change in policy as well.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else further discussion on 24031? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. 24031 passes. 7 in favor, 0 opposed. That brings us to 24033.
24033, second reading, an ordinance repealing Chapter 5, Article 1, and adding a new Chapter 5, Article 1 of the City Code and renaming the Chapter 5 to business licenses. This addresses item 2.1.A of the 2023-2024 Independence Action Plan, second reading.
Thank you. Anyone further discussion on 24033?
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
Mr. City Manager, you have, staff has brought this forward, and can you remind us that it solves what problem for the city and our legal review of that? Thank you.
Yes, I would be glad to. So this is dealing with the city's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 5, regarding business licenses. It was last updated in the 1970s, and there have obviously been a number of changes in state statute since that period of time. So by and large, this is actually a full repeal and replace of that section of city code. It will make sure to eliminate redundant or duplicative sections. It will eliminate those sections that are in conflict with current state law and replace those so that we are in conformance with state statute. This will clarify the business license appeal process. The council may recall a month or so ago having a business license hearing here in the council chambers. That will clarify that process will actually flow to circuit court instead of putting the council in the position of adjudicating those hearings. And then talking about how we will handle businesses that are operating illegally. One thing that I would like to clarify, since it has been brought up this evening, this particular ordinance does not apply to our rental properties. Several months ago, maybe even been a year ago, the council dealt with some changes to our rental inspection program. Some of this language was in there, and at that time the council decided that we did not want to implement those changes. So this does not deal with anything regarding licensing of rental properties, our rental-ready inspection program, or applying to any residential rental units.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Further questions? And that I am so glad that you clarified it at the end, because I know Mr. Roberts spoke about that earlier, asked that question, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad you clarified that. So thank you very, very much for doing that. Anyone else? Other questions or comments on this item right here, 24033? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. And 24033 passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. This brings us to 24037. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
24-037, second reading, an ordinance approving the petition to establish the Fairmount Community Improvement District, establishing the district and making findings and authorizing actions related to establishment of the district, second reading.
Thank you. Anyone, any further discussions on this item?
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I'll ask for the council's support. I'd appreciate their support moving this forward with the CID boundary. The testimony that was given to the council 2 weeks ago still holds true. This is an exciting new piece that will help add to the Northwest Independence and 24 Highway, what's taking place there.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else, further discussions? And I know just from my comments, CSL, Mr. Cowens has worked a lot on this to bring it up to this point, and so, and I applaud them for their work. It'll make a big improvement into the area and really help upgrade it. We've seen what the CID has done on Nolan Road and the improvements it's had there, so I concur with you and happy to vote yes on this item. Anyone else, other further discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll on 24037, please.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes, and 24037 passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. This brings us to 24040.
24-040, second reading, an ordinance imposing a police sales tax at the rate of 1/4 of 1% of the receipts from the sale at retail of all tangible personal property or taxable services at retail within the city of Independence, Missouri, which shall remain in effect at said rate thereafter until repealed by the voters of the city, calling for the proposition adopting said tax to be placed on the ballot at a regularly scheduled election to be held August 6, 2024, proposing the form of the ballots and directing the city clerk to do all things called for by law in connection with the holding of said election. Second reading.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
I'd like to make a modification, a motion for adding some language on
Okay.
Section 8, specifically when it talks about following the form. Shall the City of Independence impose a sales tax of 1/4 of 1% for the exclusive benefit of the police department? There it stops.
Right.
The ask is to include which tax shall remain in effect until repealed by voters. Add in that last little bit there.
Okay. So we've got a motion and a second to add on to the language under Section 8. Because the police department had it before police department period, your amendment would read, which tax shall remain in effect until repealed by voters. So basically saying that this tax could only be repealed by voters going forward.
Correct.
Okay, very, very good. We've got a motion and a second. Anyone want to discuss the amendment? Seeing no discussion, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment. Oh, we had a second, I'm sorry. I heard him, but you didn't, so please forgive me.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. And the amendment as proposed passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. That brings us back to the main bill. Anyone want to discuss this item?
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
First of all, I want to thank city staff for pulling this together in really short order. Thank the police department for their support of this. I think it's fair to say that none of us take lightly the question of asking citizens of Independence to increase the sales tax. We recognize that taking this action should only be done when it's absolutely necessary for the overall welfare of our community. This 1/4 cent sales tax is exactly that type of request. This request is to directly support the safety and security of our community. The decision of Kansas City to adjust their police department pay so significantly that it has the potential to essentially rob neighboring communities of qualified police officers necessitates our response. As leaders of this community, we feel it's critical to respond by supporting the officers that defend us and our community every day by making a substantial effort to be competitive. We did that earlier this evening when we passed the collective bargaining agreement. This ordinance then is the second part of that commitment and represents how we will pay for that. Passing this tax will show the commitment and value that our city and our citizens place on our police department. It essentially says, no, we will not let crime take over our community. We will continue to place an emphasis on public safety to work to deter the criminal element. So it is with this in mind that I fully support this tax and urge our citizens to come out in August to support the men and women of our police department by passing this 1/4 cent sales tax. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have further discussion on this item? Please proceed.
I also want to say that that I take any tax increase seriously. I have firsthand experience of the struggle of making ends meet in a family. I do understand the burden of that an additional tax can place on hardworking families, but I also know the burden that crime has on the residents. Victimization rates for all types of crime are significantly higher for individuals living in low-income households. I also want to say that I'm really proud of the fast work of the city staff and the council. We worked really hard on this. And for myself and Council Member Vaught, this happened 2 weeks into our term. So there was some disadvantage in that. But the advantage in that was that we had just recently knocked on doors and we're fresh, talking to the residents of our districts. So I know that public safety was the #1 thing people talked to me about. So in the end, I know that this is what the residents of my district want. I want the residents of my district and the residents of Independence to be safe and to feel safe. And the safety of our police officers is non-negotiable, and that is part of this, and I want them to be safe. So I will be voting yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Other further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
again, implementing a tax is not an easy task. However, public safety is a fundamental responsibility of our government, and it's imperative that we provide our police the resources that they need to perform the duties effectively. Investing in our police is an investment in our safety. We will be able to offer competitive wages that reflect the value that we have for our officers' dedication and their service. This tax will help us to attract and retain highly qualified and motivated individuals. So I am in favor of this, and it is nice to see the positive feedback that it has had. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Other further discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I'll have to say I'm pretty proud of this council, the FOP Lodge, the city manager's office, his leadership team. Been here off and on a hot minute, and I have seen a lot of difficult decisions that have come and gone. Some of them played out longer meaning we've had more time to discuss, deliberate, get better answers, get good answers. We got good answers. I don't want to misrepresent that. But the timeline of this was pretty short and was pretty crunch. And we worked starting a midweek all the way through a weekend several weeks ago. To Councilwoman Vaught and Wiley, you guys did awesome. I mean, that was tough, even for me. That was a tough realization for what was taking place, and being able to come forward with an agreement that gets us where we need to be is very important. So it's up to this council to show that unity, but also we didn't take light on what we were asking our citizens to do by any stretch. And I think coming off the election cycle, hitting the doors as the same as you did, hearing the same conversations and hearing the support as well at the times that we needed the support then, I think this is the right move. I feel very confident with this, and I feel that our citizens will help support this measure. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please proceed.
My eloquent fellow city council members have said it very well. I just want to add on to what Councilmember Wiley said, why it's actually a safety issue for police to support this. If we end up understaffed, that puts an incredible strain on our team for them to be able to do the appropriate training, for them to have the appropriate coverage and backup. So it's a safety issue for our police officers. It also builds a good culture, a culture of respect for the people who do hard work, and for the culture of our city to think about shared opportunity to make a place that's welcoming for everyone. So I appreciate the work that's been done on this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else have further discussions?
Mr. Mayor.
Please proceed.
So I don't know what else I can really say, but I just want to echo basically the sentiments of all the other council members. I want to thank the staff that worked so hard on this, and thank the city council for bringing it together so fast. As everybody said, you know, new taxes, I don't really like them. I think you have to be very serious about when you do it. I as well just knocked doors, and the main thing I heard was public safety, and a lot of those conversations is, why don't you just pay them more? Well, here you go. This is it right here. This is what we need, and I fully support this, and I think in August the citizens will as well. Thank you.
Thank you, City Council Member. Anyone else? Further discussion? Again, I just want to say thank you to all the council here. All of you worked very hard, along with the city manager and the city staff, to come to this conclusion. And we looked at tons of options, as well as I've had people ask me, well, in this city, can we do less with less? And in this situation, this is not a less for less scenario. We have to protect our officers. We have to protect our city. When I was walking door to door, I had one gentleman, I'll never forget him. He asked me, do you support blue? And I said, wholeheartedly. And he said, that's good, because in independence, you won't get elected. And that's absolutely true. And so for the men and women that are here, and also the men and women that serve, I just want you to know that unanimously, this council supports you, is behind you, and cannot say thank you enough for the work and the service that you provide for our city. The hours that you spend, some of you that are here tonight, I know work nights. And that is hard. It's hard on a family. And you're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I just cannot say thank you enough for all that you do and how you make us proud as a city for the work that you do. So thank you, thank you, thank you very much for that. Also, the City of Independence is the first municipality to talk about this issue, but it will not be the last. Other cities are already quietly discussing this matter, and we're being transparent about it with our residents right now. Not to say that they're not, but they will be talking about it soon, because they'll be facing the same challenges that we're facing from a budget perspective. Someone asks me, what if we don't do anything? And the response to that is, inaction is in fact action. Choosing not to pass this sales tax speaks volumes about the support we have for our law enforcement officers in our community. And so I think it's imperative that we as a council put this on the ballot and to ask our our fellow citizens to support it, so that we can continue to remain, continue to remain competitive in the market of hiring officers. So with that, anyone else? All right. With that, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vought.
Yes.
Mayor Rowland.
Yes. 24-040 passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. This will put the sales tax on the August 6th ballot. Very, very good. And that brings us to our first readings. Madam City Clerk, please proceed.
24-038, first reading, an ordinance authorizing a contract with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services to provide financial assistance for the state investment in local public health services grant program for the period of June 1st, 2024 through May 31st, 2025, accepting funds for the period in the amount of $118,386, authorizing future change orders for additional funding and/or time extensions for the same project, and authorizing certain future appropriations. First reading. 24-039, first reading, an ordinance approving a final plat for Waiters Place, replat A in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri. First reading.
Thank you very much. That brings us to councilmember comments. Councilmember Stewart, I will call on you first.
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor, but thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Fears, anything you have tonight?
Sure. Finally, was able to have an opportunity to visit the police dispatch center and see the work of the folks there. Difficult work. I can't even, I mean, it's kind of, I would call it multitasking on steroids. I mean, it was just really, really incredible. Very much enjoyed that opportunity, especially got to spend some time with dispatcher Michelle Carpenter. Just incredible to watch her work. And so I just want to thank her and thank the police department for that opportunity. And just, again, they are short-staffed out there, and they need more. And so if you know anybody that has that skill set, boy, send them our way on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Vought,
Nothing tonight.
thank you. Councilmember Wiley,
Just one quick thing. I was invited Thursday by the National Active and Retired Federal Employees Association. They had their chapter meeting Thursday, and they invited me to come out and speak. And it was a great experience. I just want to thank the members for inviting me. Thanks.
thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember McCandless,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to start with a shout out to Sam Morris, who is our Chief of Emergency Operations. She just completed a special training put on by FEMA and Homeland Security and now has her emergency manager certificate. And of the 60 people who started, only 8 completed the program. I think that speaks very highly to Sam's talent and skills, so congratulations on that. I wanted to also make a request again of the city manager and my fellow council members that we reinstitute a second study session per month. We have so many substantive discussions and important decisions coming that I often feel pressed for time during our study sessions. If you watched our last study session, people had to hurry up and make their presentations. We didn't get to have the breadth of discussion that I was hoping that we would on the housing study, in part because we had 4 items to discuss. I know that we can always cancel them if we don't have content, but I would encourage us to think about adding that second study session. I guess I should also ask the city manager, does that place undue burden on you or your staff to give us that extra time for discussion?
You know, the way the council rules are written right now, it indicates that the council will have at least one a month. So there's just, first of all, procedurally, nothing would need to change there, so no extra work for us in terms of preparing amendments to your rules of procedure. I would agree that there's a lot of heavy topics going on right now, a lot of major citywide initiatives that the council's opted to pick up and deal with, which is exciting. But Yeah, if you would like to spend a little more time delving into some of these issues, then it would probably behoove us to begin with the assumption that that second study session is going to take place, and then we could always provide notice, concurrent with the agenda that we were not going to be needing one that month unless the council had a specific topic they were looking to discuss.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
I would agree with Councilmember McCandless that this council has a busy agenda with many items coming up for discussion, and this approach ensures that we are transparent, keeps our citizens informed. So I am in favor of a second study session.
Okay, very good, thank you. Anyone else? Okay,
I'll just agree with that as well, and I would prefer to have it on the schedule and then cancel it if we don't need it, then add it, kind of intermittently. So.
Sure. Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Perkins, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just something real quick. We do, the Northwest churches, Maywood Baptist Church, Inglewood Christian Church, Revived Church, Kairos Church do an annual cleanup. It's their service day. This year it's on June 1st. We will be meeting at Revived Church at 9507 East Winter Road at 8:30. We will have a breakfast of some sort pulled together by then. We used to do lunch, but it sounds like it just works better if we're going to do breakfast. So we'll be picking up trash along Truman Road and working through some of the neighborhoods over there. So June 1st, 8:30, Revived Church.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember. And I also, Councilmember, went to the MARV conference this morning, so they were still meeting, and it was a great meeting. It was fun to be there, so they did a great job. So with that, and also, we cannot forget, the video contest is still going on. So it is still open. This is my opportunity to put pressure on my colleagues to make sure that you make at least a 30-second video saying why you love independence. So, and I will help you with the staff on that to get that going. So the city manager and I have talked about that, so we'll get that up and running. So with that, Mr. City Manager, I will turn the floor over to you.
Just a couple of quick updates for the council and the community. You are welcome to come next Monday, but it is a holiday, so you'll be locked out sitting outside on the bench, but do whatever you'd like. If you would like to come next Tuesday and Wednesday at 6 p.m., we will be providing departmental budget presentations to the council. So after a few years of hiatus, the council's asked to bring that back, and there will be each department over the course of those 2 nights sharing about their budgets and then standing for questions from the council. So again, 6 o'clock on both the 28th and 29th here in the chambers, and of course those will be televised as well. And I just want to celebrate and point out that we have filled 2 important spots in our organization. Our Public Information Officer, Rebecca Gannon, has now joined us. She comes to us from local media, broadcast journalism, so good experience and good network that we can draw upon. And we have also today publicly announced the hire of Chief Jimmy Walker as the next Fire Chief of Independence. He served for 28 years with the city of Kansas City as their Deputy Chief most recently, and will be joining us on June 24th as the Fire Chief. He will overlap for about a month or so with Chief Loss, who's agreed to stay with us through the end of July to help ensure a smooth transition as he hands the reins over. So very excited about that as well. Mayor, that is all I have for this evening.
Very good. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.